Welcome back to a new episode of Holy Shift. How you doing, Adrian?
I live for our recordings at this point. Like, they're so much fun, and I hope you guys have as much fun listening to them as we have recording them. It's one of the highlights of my week.
Absolutely. And these topics, I think we're getting bolder and bolder into the things that we're going to be exploring. I think the beautiful thing too is both of us are finding our voice and the cadence of these recordings. And the feedback that I've gotten from the women that are listening is actually so beautiful.
Me too.
It's so beautiful. People actually look forward to the release of each episode every single week. So, guys, this was literally just a whim. Like, we're going to do it. We're going to go. And thanks for being here to watch us grow.
Welcome to Holy Shift, the podcast where medicine meets mystery and healing becomes whole.
We're your hosts, Taylor Sappington
and Adrian Irizarry.
Two clinicians, herbalists, and mystics who believe the old ways and modern medicine were never meant to live apart.
This is a space for the witches in the broom closet, the healers afraid to leave their mark, the world walkers who know they don't fit into the systems they were handed.
Here we go first, sharing our stories, our medicine, and the truth about what it really takes to reclaim your power, your health, and your place in the world.
Because the safest, most radical thing you can be is yourself.
This is your permission.
This is your portal.
This is your holy shift. So, we're going to be talking about the patriarchy again.
Well, it's a theme that permeates everything.
Yes.
So, like, we're just looking at it from different vantage points because it is so interwoven into the fabric of how we understand who we are, how we express who we are, and the limitations that have been placed on our full authentic expression.
Yes, we're going to be talking about the patriarchy in reference to or in relation to spiritual bypassing today, which new age spirituality, ooh, yuck, get away. Like, I don't know how else to, I don't know how else to put it. Like, I'm sure everybody who just heard me say new age spirituality got a vision in their mind of what it looks like. And it is a very particular presentation. And I'm sure many of you are like, oh yeah, they're the people screaming in videos on Instagram out into the abyss to alleviate their ancestral trauma. I have to get off my soapbox now, otherwise I'm going to get real petty. So we're going to talk about spiritual bypassing, obviously patriarchal conditioning, and how they derail your power and your clarity. So I'm sure everybody listening, I'm sure you listening, you know the feeling like you should be at peace. You should be grateful. You should just trust the universe. This is one of my favorites, right? Even when something deep inside of you is screaming that something's off. That's not your intuition. Okay, that's patriarchal conditioning and spiritual bypassing, tag teaming your power. So there's a very big difference between intuition, obviously, and then conditioning. I think conditioning can step right alongside ego. Yeah.
Yes, I would totally agree with that. That's actually what I was going to say next is conditioning. I see those interwoven with this idea of ego because we've been taught and saturated and marinated and fed the Kool-Aid that this thing, this head that sits on our shoulders is superior to anything else in our system. And while our brains are brilliant, and as I sit here in Aquarius, like I'm all about
I know you
head.
like your head.
I do like my head, but that body knowing, that body wisdom is going to get you out of the way of the tiger before your brain catches up.
Yeah.
So like your body wisdom is brilliant, but the challenge is we haven't been taught to really listen to it. And it requires being quiet and making all of the things that dance through your brain, the to-do lists, the who has to be picked up when, the what the hell day is it, did I pay that bill, all of that stuff is like ego, brain, cerebral activity. Your brain has to be quiet in order to get in touch with what's going on in the body. And that's very hard for a lot of us in an age and generation of constant stimulation and things to look at and scrolling on phones and all of that kind of thing. It's hard for a lot of people to get into that place. But that knowing is going to speak volumes. Knowing that comes from the head on your shoulders has a conditioned piece to it. Yes. Whether it's what society has told you, whether it's the climate that you grew up in your family and what your family taught you. I didn't realize how naive I really was until I stepped out into the world and went, wow, I really don't know what I don't know. And I thought I knew lots of things, right? And so your experiences shape who you are. Whenever I work with clients, I tell them that like what the work that we're going to do is so damn specific and unique to you because you were the only one that has lived all of your lived experiences and your body is the movie projector of your life. So like, even though two people might have yin deficiency, for example, it might present very differently between those two people because of their lived experience and what's going on in the background. And so I think that's really important to remember. And this conditioning that we have has taught us, since the Victorian era specifically, that being feminine is soft and gentle.
We're going to talk about this.
Because that's that whole demure, soft, conservative, to be seen and not heard kind of mentality that we have been spoon-fed, we have been marinated in, we have been taught to believe is a woman's place in the world.
My blood pressure is rising as you're saying all of this.
And I'm saying it to bring mine down. Because if we pull the veil back and we really like, it's that saying like polish a turd, it's still a turd, right? Like, it's shit. It's all shit. And like, we don't understand it that way, or we haven't been taught to look at it that way. And that's what this program is all about, is challenging what we think we know and creating a different way of looking at our lived experience.
This is going to sound a bit off, but I hope every time you listen to an episode, there is a segment of the show that makes you wildly uncomfortable. And I am not saying that because I want you to be uncomfortable per se. I am saying that because if I have made you uncomfortable the way I have made myself uncomfortable and continue to make myself uncomfortable in inquiry and reflection, that means that there's opportunity for change or broadening of perspective, right? So I am hands down 10 years ago, you would have talked to me about the patriarchy and I would have looked at you like you had 25 heads because admittedly, I benefit from it for a multitude of reasons. And the further I allowed myself to go into the discussion, the angrier I got, right? One, but the more I saw the system, I'm going to continue to come back to the system that is actually quite oppressive to a multitude of generations and segments of the population. And as Adrian was saying, your cerebral functioning, your brain, one of the conditions is to keep you alive. It's always going to be on the lookout for threat. And it is always going to choose the safer option, even if the safer option is a familiar discomfort. And we have to remember that change is uncomfortable. Even good change, your brain is going to scream to you, I'm dying, I'm dying, I'm dying, I'm dying, I'm dying. Don't do it, I'm dying, I'm dying. Go back to the base. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, well, we can continue to live in this familiar discomfort, or we can slow step our way into a new reality, literally, with the change that we're partaking in, and show our brain through taking action and doing things differently that we're not actually going to die.
I love that you said this, and I was laughing while you were talking because I was like, wow, that sounds like you described my entire year this year. I'm dying, I'm dying, I'm dying.
Yeah.
Really, it's a reimagining and a re-envisioning and like leaning into the suck. And That's hard. That's really hard because like it feels gross. But anytime that you've had those moments in your life, though, I want to invite you to just like think about and reflect on any time you've had those holy shit, this sucks moments in your life. And you look back on it and where you are now. And I think about this with my miscarriages, like going through it. I was like, oh my God, like, why would this keep happening to me? Like, I'm a good person. Like, I'm like, you know what I mean? And it was very much this is happening to me. But looking back at it, every single one of those gave me a gift.
Yeah.
And they moved my practice in the direction that it needed to go in. Every single one of those helped shape me as a practitioner. One of the hardest decisions I ever made in my adult life was to move away from my family.
Yeah.
And I spent the first 4 months going, holy crap, what kind of deluded thinking did I have being a single mom of a 14-month-old, moving away from the only support system I had for a job? Was I insane? And I literally questioned my sanity for about the first 4 months. And I look back at that decision that I made 13 years ago and realize it was the best decision I ever made.
Yeah.
Even though those first 4 to 6 months were hella uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we all have those moments and things that challenge our thinking, things that invite us to step in and embrace the discomfort. But it pushes our limits, whether it's our limited thinking, whether it's the capacity that we think we have. Stepping into entrepreneurship for me also was a huge leap because I had grown up I watched the golden watch generation. My parents were always W-2 employed. They were essentially at the mercy of whoever they were employed by. The leap to becoming an entrepreneur was completely foreign. I had nobody to model it off of. And it was terrifying.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I think I would have probably side hustled it until I couldn't do it that way anymore, just because I know that I was called to do this work. But my husband really is the one that made it possible for me to full on take that leap and wait for the net to appear.
Yeah.
One of my mentors said to me years and years ago, leap and the net will appear. And whatever it is that you're doing is aligned with your essence or your soul self, it does appear.
That doesn't mean that it's going to get comfortable or it's going to be comfortable getting there. Like I had this moment, what's today, Wednesday, when we're recording this, I had this moment on Monday. One of the things that runs deep in my generational narrative is scarcity. Right?
Too.
I have a dad that literally, he's the rich dad, poor dad story. He is the rags to riches story. He was one of 6 children. He started working at the age of 8 to put food on the table for his family, right? Like think about I have an 11-year-old that couldn't even conceptualize what he did, right? But like think about the amount of compartmentalization that is required to go to work at 8 years old and bring food home for your starving parents who are also attempting to do the same thing and your siblings. Like kind of breaks my heart as mom. You know what I mean? But I look at my dad's story as a child and how it's carried him through to today. I mean, he has built himself a wildly successful business. Okay. But I witnessed somebody who was unable to disconnect. Work became his whole identity. Productivity became his whole identity. And by no means am I saying this in a derogatory manner, because I can celebrate so much of what my dad has brought to fruition in this world. It's beautiful. He is not a college graduate. He's a high school graduate. There was nothing special, if you will, about him. He was certainly not spoon-fed. He created this all for himself. And at the same time, I mean, I had entrepreneurship modeled to me, but I didn't necessarily have the healthy version of entrepreneurship modeled to me. And I still deal with, I'm good. My basic needs are covered, right? I have personally dealt with being a multi-6-figure income earner. I know what that feels like. It feels fucking amazing. I would be lying if I said it didn't, right? I like making money. And I think most of us would be lying if we said we didn't, right? And I've also had the contrast of I'm a single mom living paycheck to paycheck, right? And now I'm sitting in this middle place of rediscovery and reinvention. How fucking humbling. But 2 days ago, I was like, I'm dying. holy shit, I'm dying, right?
Yep.
Because it's mistaken for money, but my perceived worth is tied to my purpose. And when I feel like I am not plugged into my purpose, oh my God, it's like not having oxygen, right? And my purpose has always led to generating an income. I don't worry about the money, I follow the purpose. But for the first time in my life, I'm very aware of like, oh shit, like I'm still clarifying my purpose. It feels blurry, right? And because it feels blurry, it's making everything else feel blurry. And I don't like sitting here. It's 24-hour tantrum, if you will. You got to feel it. But that's the thing with healing. If it's a spiral, things don't go away. I know the health and wellness world has taught us that, oh, the symptom's gone. No, the symptom gets quiet. Then you hit another layer of self-discovery. You hit another layer of self-exploration, and you go back down into that spiral, and there's that symptom, but you come out in a more sophisticated way. And we do this our entire lives. We go back down to resolve it at another layer.
Mm-hmm. I just had a client in my office this week that I had this exact conversation with. It's so funny that you say it this way, because I was talking about the skip in the record. And like, to be able to resolve it, like, I don't see healing as like going like round and round in like a 2-dimensional spiral. I see it more like a vortex, because as you're growing on all of these layers, you're gaining a different perspective on that thing. And sometimes your body will regressively heal, like it will go back into something that feels like an old pattern. And people freak out when that happens, because they're like, well, shit, I've done all this fucking work and I shouldn't be having this problem anymore. What did
Patriarchal
I do?
Conditioning.
Yes.
Right
what did
there.
I do to break it? Like, what did I do wrong? And I'm like, honey, you didn't do anything wrong. Like, yes, it was a similar pain pattern, but was the intensity different? Was the duration different? Like, it essentially was retracing and going back to the root of the problem. But I'm sure there's something about the way that it presented that was different. And when we talked about it, sure enough, it was. And so I said, it's because your body went, you know what? You have enough of a foundation that it's safe enough. You have enough resources to go back there, and let's heal more of that.
Here's the thing too. We are so self-centered in this world. Patriarchy, individualism. Here we go again, right? But like, you are not just healing for you. You have picked up things that belong to people of past. Usually trauma skips a generation. So get to know your grandparents. You want to get to know your trauma, get to know your grandparents, right? Go back, and if your grandparents are still alive, bless you for being able to tap into that. Have a conversation with your grandparents. Get to know what their life was like. Get to know what their biggest fears were. Get to know what their biggest obstacles and challenges were. Both of my great-grandmothers were single parents. Whoa. Right?
Yeah, especially during that era. Yeah.
Right?
Whoa.
Oh, what did they face? And then my maternal grandmother was an orphan.
Wow.
So like, when I look at my life, it's just a running collection of things that some of which are, attached to me, but the majority of which have been passed on to me in order to collapse the timeline and put a period at the end of that sentence. So we are so self-centered. I don't know if that's the right word to use. We are so narrow-minded and perspected when it comes to this whole healing thing. You're not just doing it for you. You're doing it for those past. Oh, and then you're doing it for those to come. So not just your kid, more importantly, your grandkid.
Yes. And when we continue to embody this soft feminine, or this idea that the feminine has to only be soft and gentle, we're setting up our grandchildren for
the same thing.
Exactly. Because like, at the core, wild feminine medicine is honest.
Feral.
It is. It's honest. It's vulnerable. It's authentic. It's speaking truth.
It's a little prickly when you touch it sometimes.
Yep.
Patriarchal conditioning. So what could this sound like in your head? Like, it's whispers in your head. You should tone it down. That feels like too much. You can't charge that amount.
You should smile.
people are going to think you're greedy. You need to look polished.
You should direct your brash.
Right. You should be calm before you speak with anyone, including an authority, right? Patriarchal conditioning teaches you that your value is in compliance, not boldness, right? That discipline means self-abandonment, though. That being nice is better than being direct. I don't know. I don't agree with that at all at this point in my life. Like, just get to the point. You might hurt my feelings, right? But at least we're clear on where we stand. Just get to the point.
The embodiment of feminine medicine is the balance, the dance between yin and yang, softness and fierceness. You know what I mean? Like emotions and strength. All of these things can coexist in the same body. And I can say this about masculinity too, though.
Correct.
We have toxic masculinity and they're expected to be
or lack thereof
and motionless. Yes. Yeah. Yep. And so the Chinese medicine practitioner in me just loves this conversation because it's all about the balancing of the duality.
Yeah.
Both coexist. Both are needed to balance out one another, and health and disharmony in the body and in life come from an imbalance in these two aspects of self.
Yeah, well, power is not supposed to be, although we've been taught, power is not supposed to be polished, linear, and externally validated. That's very masculine power. That is not the acknowledgement and the admiration of power, which is meant to be expressed in balance. And what do we see in society?
Lack of boundaries.
I mean, let's just talk about it in a business sense, whether you're an employee, the employer, or self-employed, right? Overgiving and undercharging. I'm so guilty of that. Me too. And because I'm a barefoot medicine woman, I should definitely charge less. Do you know how sophisticated the medicine I practice and you practice actually is? It's so sophisticated that, guys, you listening, most of your doctors couldn't keep up in conversation. It's so sophisticated. And I feel very confident saying that. It is, I'm not going to say that it's easy. I'm going to say a lot of people could do it. A lot of people could go to medical school, read text, and regurgitate. That's what school's all about. I'm watching my son do it right now. I'm like, oh, this is just regurgitation. This isn't actually educating. This isn't learning. This is regurgitation. And that's what medical school is until you get into your clinicals. Then your clinicals is, can I survive the next X number of years without taking on the conditioning of whomever is mentoring me, right? But in the medicine space, if you will, the wellness world, we also dilute the power of this medicine by creating certifications where every Tom, Dick, and Harry, I'm not sorry, can go through and get a certification.
Thank you. Sister speaks for me. Oh, I'm feeling particularly bitter about the sound healing piece of things right now.
Like, not everybody is meant to be a health coach. Not everybody is meant to be a wellness practitioner. Not everybody is meant to be a sound healer. Not everybody is meant to be an at-home herbalist. You want to use it for your family behind closed doors. Fuck, I'm cheering you on. But that doesn't mean that you take what you've learned as a family herbalist and you attempt to create a business out of it. No.
Or you learn what you need to about your own body.
Correct.
And start to put that out there as, I know things to help other people because your constitution is unique to you.
Yes. You know, another way that this can show up as an employer, an employee, right? Self-employed, you're afraid to make a bold pivot or launch something that feels risky but deeply true. How many times have you, Adrian, or you listening, cut yourself off at the knees when you really wanted to say something and speak out because you were fearful of the backlash and the judgment that was going to come with it?
Oh, my whole life.
What are they going to think? What are they going to say? They're going to judge you anyway, so you might as well.
Well, this is why I was so excited when Taylor was like, hey, do you want to sit down and like riff on the cool shit that we talk about like through voice notes? And I was like, hell yeah, because I have always struggled with this. I look back at my history and the embodiment of what Taylor is talking about shows up as disease. I literally,
yes.
I literally had tonsillitis 6 times in a row when I was in college, to the point where my tonsils are slightly enlarged permanent.
Thyroid issues, okay? Yep. Gut issues, okay? Anxiety. Yes, your body is constantly giving you the data points that you need to look at. Take the empathy out. Stop getting so emotionally attached to your symptoms. What is this trying to teach me? What is the data here? Oh, I'm anxious. Why am I anxious? I don't know is not a good enough answer. I'm sorry. That's a cop-out. You do know. You need to sit with it.
Well, and anytime I find that people use the words I don't know, they do know, they just either are uncomfortable with the truth of the answer more often than not.
Even more reason you need to speak it.
Exactly. And so feminine medicine is the rage and anger and your ability to hold boundaries.
Yeah.
It is your ability to speak your truth and be heart-centered, even if that truth is going to make other people uncomfortable. Hello, holy shift. We dance around these concepts so much as women, because especially in our estrogen years, right? So up until perimenopause, the dance is quote unquote easier. We still get resentment and we get angry and we feel like everything's on us, but we can internalize that shit, right? Because estrogen, the softening hormone, the fluffing hormone, helps to soften the edges. And
God help all of you when I am chest deep in perimenopause. Sorry.
But like, you get to this transition and all of a sudden your ability to filter for the good of the people goes right out the fucking door. Yeah. And that's okay. It's actually very freeing and liberating. However, it's very jarring to people around you because they're like, you've never said this before. You've never done this before. And it feels like it's all out of nowhere.
Yeah.
For most of the people around you, unless they were really paying attention. Yeah. But if they were really paying attention, the resentment wouldn't have built up because they would have saw it coming.
Right.
So this conditioning is making us sick, people. I've literally seen this lack of expression showing up as fibroids.
Yep.
Like
endometriosis.
Yes. For me, it was
irregularity in your period, inability to take a shit.
Yep.
Okay. Like congestion. Literally. Okay. I'm congested. What have I... Start simple. What truth have I not expressed and why?
Yes. And usually we don't express that truth because we're afraid of creating discomfort with others. And that is your patriarchal conditioning.
It's interesting too, because some of my favorite older women, if you will, are the ones where you're like, that's just Gladys. She just says it like it is. Like some of my favorite women, I'm just like, she just cussed that person out. That's just her. Like, it's interesting how we just accept it in women that are quote unquote older. I'm saying like 75, 80, 85.
Yeah.
But prior to it, we're like, that's inappropriate. So what's the line? I'm confused. Like, why is it okay for Gladys who's 82, but it's not okay for me at 42? Like, what's the line there? That's also very curious to me too, right? But patriarchal conditioning, asking for permission, seeking constant credentials. Okay, I am so guilty of this.
Oh, me too.
I have 7 certifications. I think I need to go get an 8th. I think I know I need to go get registered for this. I think I need to go take another degree. Like, why?
I'm guilty of the same thing. And it's because
so many of you listening, I know this is pushing a sensitive button for you.
Well, and for me, I felt like I needed to justify what I knew.
Yeah.
Like I needed to be able to demonstrate to the people, because like one of the most Googled things is holistic doctor, and they really don't exist.
It's an oxymoron.
Like, what? I mean, you have a naturopath
still,
but like when you're looking at an MD, unless they have decided to specialize and become more of an integrative practitioner, that's not how they're trained.
Even then, they're still conditioned. They're still indoctrinated.
Yeah, because of the system that they came through.
Yeah.
And everybody going into medicine went into medicine because they wanted to help people. And then they went through a system that taught them how to think, taught them how to diagnose, taught them how to move through all of those things. And when they come out the other side, there are very wide ranges of, am I willing to look at something in between?
That's why we don't have, like, you go to the doctor and you get your labs drawn and we have standard lab values. And then you go to the functional medicine doctor or practitioner and they have completely different lab ranges, right? But then those lab ranges, while they have razor thin margins most of the time in the functional sense, that doesn't take into consideration your individual constitution, or does it take into consideration where you were in your cycle, what was going on in your world the day you had your labs done, or the fact that by the time you had your labs drawn, your blood was in a completely different chemical presentation.
And it's only a snapshot in time. I want to say that too. It's only a snapshot.
You are a different person literally every 60 seconds. So like your chemistry, the moment you're getting drawn is going to be different from the chemistry 2 hours later, is going to be different from the chemistry 12 hours later. So we're looking at lab results that are from 3 months ago because you can't get in with your doctor. And they're making clinical decisions based off labs that you took 3 months ago, and you're not even the same person sitting with them.
Right. And well, let alone even if you went on the same day of your cycle to see your doctor that you had the labs drawn, you have that disconnect as well.
Yeah.
And so like, I'll have people that'll come to me and be like, oh, like I have all these labs, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, great. Like you can show them to me, but I'm still going to treat what's in front of me.
You have to.
You have to. Yes.
Otherwise, you're likely creating more problems than you are providing solutions, right? At that point, if you're treating a lab, you're treating a system with incorrect information, right? And most dis-ease in the body is too much information, not enough information, or hijacked information. And for most people, it's all three in different systems.
Yes.
So again, patriarchy is very baked into the medical system and the way we approach care. I hate even calling it care because it's not care. Nothing about our system, unless you've had trauma, we're great at trauma, right? Unless you've had some sort of like blunt force, physical impact trauma that absolutely needs attention in that very moment. Please don't come to me. I'm not going to help you. You know what I mean? Like, I'll help you in the recovery process.
Yes.
Right. But I'm not going to be able to help you in that moment. You need to go to an ER. That's what we're really good at. But this whole notion that we are going to manage chronic disease, what the fuck? Do you ever stop and go, what? We're going to manage this? Why is it here in the first place? Sorry, we've gone off on a medical tangent, but this is all tied back to this patriarchal conditioning.
Well, and I see it a lot in women's health.
Yes.
Is like there are females who are working as gynecologists that are totally mouthpieces for the patriarchy. And it's because of the system that they were trained through. And that isn't throwing any shade. It's just opening your eyes to what it is that you're consuming for information and the filter you're running it through.
And I know it's scary to challenge these doctors through question because most of the time, which if you're a physician or an NP or a PA or anyone in the healthcare field and you're listening to this, please be open to your patients asking you questions. They are not there to challenge your intelligence. People are becoming more resourced though. So you should expect this questioning to continue and grow. Right? You want to have a rapport with your patient. Their questions are going to tell you where they are mentally. That's really important information for you as their provider. But so if you're a provider and you're listening to this, please be open to the dialogue that can come. That's so fruitful when your patients ask you questions. Don't dismiss their question. Even if you don't understand the information they're inquiring about, tell them you'll get back to them. Go explore. Look outside your box.
And it's hard looking at it from both sides of this. Like it's hard because insurance companies call the shots.
Correct.
and they are only given like a 15-minute window. Like the whole system, yes, the whole system is broken. So like I have immense compassion for the fact that those who really do want to have these conversations, like a lot of them start going out on their own into direct care.
Yep.
Because they want to be able to have these kinds of conversations. And I applaud those that have taken that scary leap to do that.
Yep.
Because I had a client that came in the other day and they're like, do you take insurance? And I was like, I wish I could, but I can't because of the nature of what it is that I do. And they were like, well, at this point, any good care you're going to get is going to be outside of the insurance anyway. And I was like, I mean, and with deductibles going up so much and the need for HSAs, because like hardly anything is really getting covered anymore, like you might as well direct pay because you're going to get better care and you're going to spend less because you're going to get tangible, actionable things that you can take back into your life
that are unique
to you. That's it right there.
Yeah. So how does this tie into spiritual bypassing, which I feel like is the meat in the middle of the sandwich here? We introduced the idea of new age spirituality when we opened this podcast, but obviously, have you ever heard somebody say everything happens for a reason? Just trust divine timing. Oh, high vibes only.
I don't believe the high vibes thing at all. I do in some ways believe the trust in timing. And here's why I say that. Because I tend to be someone that gets like strokes of genius. And then 3 years later, people like understand what I'm trying to offer. For some reason, maybe it's the Aquarius, I don't know. But I'm always like 3 or 4 years ahead of where everybody else is.
So feel you.
It's so irritating because I was doing sound therapy before everybody had gongs and crystal bowls and called themselves a sound healer. So now when I talk about my services, they're like, oh yeah, I know what sound healing is. And I'm like, no, I assure you, you don't know what I'm talking about right now, but that's okay. I'll meet you where you're at. Right. So I've had offers, like I've created courses and things like that. And then they became relevant years later. So yes, I do believe that a little bit, but I believe that more in the astrology side of things.
Well,
that
here's
there is
the thing.
Timing.
When it comes to just trust divine timing, you take action.
Yes.
There's a difference, right? So a lot of the times when people are saying, just trust the divine timing, right? They're not taking action out of fear of failure.
Yes, they're like essentially putting the onus and the responsibility
it'll to me eventually. No, there has to be forward momentum, right? Like what you seek is seeking you, and you have to walk towards it just as much as it walks towards you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Same thing with everything happens for a reason. Well, just because it's happening for a reason doesn't mean that it's in alignment. High vibes only. Well, what if you need to like rage and cry and feel it all the way through? How in the hell does high vibes help you when the expression is actually what you're being asked for?
So when we were talking earlier in the episode about like having those moments where I just wanted to rage at everything and I'm like, what the hell is this happening for? And you were talking about that feeling blurry, like things are coming, but sitting in that blurry space, that gray unknown is like an uncomfortable place to be.
Yeah.
I totally witnessed that because that has been an experience since I stepped over the threshold of this last birth portal and I birthed my son and it birthed me anew.
Well, it burns you down for you to rebuild. Like
absolutely.
Birth is going to, regardless of how many children you've had, every time you labor and deliver a baby, it's going to burn the identity that you walked into the pregnancy with and create ripe soil for you to build anew.
And it has been wicked uncomfortable. 100%. This whole year, I'm like, who the hell am I? And what am I doing with my life? Like, it's really been hard. And sitting in that unknown has been really hard. But I really resonated with what you were saying around high vibes only, because the more I have sat with this in this uncomfortable, unknowing place, I'm realizing how important my work around shadow work needs to be.
Yep.
And I actually think this is part of where some of my energy is headed, because I'm realizing that there's so much missing in the way that we talk about things that is, again, embracing the duality, right? High vibes only is only a certain energy, but that also implies that there is a polar opposite energy. Polar opposites attract in relationships. Polar opposites balance each other out in
They're
medicine.
found in the astrology chart.
Yep. They're critically important.
Yes. Yep.
And you can't come up through the muck and mire unless you embrace the darkness at the same time. And nobody wants to look at that shit. And I'm not saying, because there's a difference between darkness and low vibration.
Yep.
There is a difference.
Absolutely.
And darkness can be unknowing. It can be allowing for empty presence. It can be really taking a look at where you are allowing yourself to continue to get hung up. But that is actually high vibration, because you are getting out of your own way, and the victimhood mentality of shit only happens to me. Oh, woe is me. I'm going to have a tantrum about it. And going, okay, what is my role in all of this?
Yeah.
Where am I continuing to limit myself?
Unexamined question. 99.9% of people in this world suffer because they are unwilling to explore their own participation in the creation of their suffering.
Yep. Mic drop.
Literally. And there's a cost to both of these patterns, right? Like both of these patterns, when they're left unexamined, lead to disempowered leadership. You feel like you're chasing, especially in the business space, you can left feeling like you're chasing strategy after strategy, but nothing sticks because underneath you're still trying to be good instead of trying to be real, right? You're still trying to heal your way out of action instead of leading your way into growth, right? Anger is sacred. Your desire is divine. Your voice is a channel, and your boundaries are medicine. And there's no arguing any of that.
Woo! I'm going to just clap right there, because that is so beautifully said. It's so true, though. Yeah. People think that having boundaries means you're an asshole. And that's not. It's, where do I have power leaks? Where am I giving my power away?
Go look at your South Node.
Yes, let's tie this into astrology, because there's a huge piece there.
I mean, you're not here to soften into acceptability. You're here to sharpen into truth. And I think that's why so many in the era of the witch trials were taken out, because you had women that were, I think the ages are going to look different based on the time period, but like you got into your mid to late 30s, you were getting into like very much getting into that matriarchal component of your life.
Yes. Absolutely. And you don't even start stepping into truly your midheaven until you're later in your life. It exists in your chart before that, but there's a reason it's a midheaven. It's in the middle of your life that you start stepping into alignment with that truth. And for a lot of us, if we haven't started to embrace that metamorphosis that is happening in our midlife and step onto the path of that midheaven, there's the dissonance there makes us ill and makes us sick, because we're not in alignment with our truth.
And the midheaven is something that you grow into. So I think a big misconception with a natal chart is you come in embodying all pieces of your chart. And that's just not true, right? You come in embodying different pieces of your chart, and that changes from person to person, right? As does the weight. So when you get on Instagram and you're like, sun, moon, rising, here's your horoscope, you know what I mean? Well, the weight of your sun versus the weight of your moon versus the weight of your rising is going to be different from person to person, right? Knowing all three of those signs is really important, right? But also knowing the weight of them in your natal chart is important. And the midheaven, the MC, for most of us is something that we grow into through the duration of our life, right? It's not something that we come into the world embodying. Astrology is such a beautiful example of how we are not born knowing everything. right? And how we follow a cadence through the duration of our life to build upon. It's like each house builds upon each other. And for you, the houses, the signs, and the planets are perfectly laid out for you to fully embody your journey from first breath to last breath. The sad piece is most people look at astrology as this watered down, distilled, pop type of tool. And in reality, it's a blueprint for how you should live your life. Now, there's free will, there's personal expression within the chart, right? There has to be some flexibility. It can't be all astrology all the time, right? But astrology is a big piece of how we show up and learning how to show up in our best interest. And that doesn't mean that we avoid lessons. That does not mean that we're going to avoid hard times. They're built into your natal chart.
Yes. And the lifelong themes that you are going to be working through are built into your chart too. Scorpio in the second house, anybody?
That's going to impact your money, right? Like your second house impacts your money, and it all comes back to your nervous system. So like you have depth associated with your money. You have alchemical transformation associated with your money. If you are not taking life experience and alchemizing it and transmuting it and using it as a piece to complement your sixth house and how you show up routinely, right, for yourself and your clients, your money magnetism is not going to be there. There's going to be a miscommunication. Your nervous system has to feel safe in that second house, just like it has to feel safe in that sixth house in order to start seeing money flow through. When there's a disconnect, you're going to struggle with money.
Well, and it makes me think about what you were saying about look at your grandparents, get familiar with your grandparents, like both sides.
Yeah.
Money was the theme.
Yep.
For my family. And I have this Scorpio in the second house and a lot of themes around scarcity. It's like, whoa, okay, that's pretty heavy. I need to transmute for future generations this pile of shit. Like that's my role in all of this. And it is uncomfortable, but if I am aware, because I'm using this blueprint to understand and be part of the lens with which I understand my lived experience, it makes it a significantly more empowered place. And so when we're looking at the spirituality of this, we're looking at, I love my shadow as I love my light, and all things are transformed in love. Like you're looking at both sides of this. You're looking at the polarity. You're looking at the duality, that you can't just stay in high vibes. I totally get angry when I see I'm not saying there's plenty of keyboard trolls out there, and I'm not saying be a low vibration for the darkness. What I'm saying is that both have a purpose.
Yeah.
The story that you've walked has a purpose, and the divine feminine is rising and taking off the rose-colored glasses and going, holy shit, I need to actually say something.
Yeah.
I need express myself. I am not going to allow myself to be a doormat based on the conversations, the understanding, and what I was saturated in growing up, because a lot of that came out of the patriarchal narrative. We are literally at a point in time where we are changing the future of the feminine experience. And it may feel very discouraging right now. I know I have days where I'm like, nope, I can't even look at the news. I can't even deal with, nope, I can't, because it is discouraging. But things have to burn down for the phoenix to rise. We're in that transition phase right now, everybody. So
in the chrysalis form.
Well, and this is like what you said in the last episode around taking care of your side of the street.
Yeah.
And if you are taking care of the tone in your household and your internal tone, so doing this kind of work that we're talking about, challenging the patriarchal narrative, no longer allowing for spiritual bypassing to be part of your lived experience, you're taking care of your side of the street, and that has a ripple effect.
Yeah. So the feminine is receptive, but that doesn't mean that she's passive. This is full-bodied feminine, right? Like this is full-bodied feminine essence. She listens to her body. You listen to your body, your desires, your intuition, and then you act on it with conviction. You're nurturing, but that doesn't mean that you abandon yourself for others. Okay.
Yeah.
You are intuitive, but you are also fierce, sensual, demanding, cyclical, creative, and precise. Feminine leadership is not about being nice, it's about being true.
Which makes you an edge walker, particularly in today's world.
Yeah. So I have had many women, especially in mentorship roles, who have made comments, even women in passing, women that don't really know me, that are acquaintances of mine, friends who think they know me, but like what's the depth of our friendship if we're not going into these really uncomfortable places? I think that needs to be a bar that most of us women are willing to hold our friendships to. Are we willing to have uncomfortable conversations and love each other through it? And if we're unwilling to have uncomfortable conversations and hold each other through it, babe, you're not a friend. But I've had many women in my life who at one point I really looked up to and respected and considered to be a friend, only to find out later that's not really the true essence of what we had. Say something along the lines of, you're so mad. You're so angry. You're like a bull in the china shop, right? Like you're so fiery, right? And for a long time, I internalized those comments and thought that there was something deeply wrong with me because I'm just not the girl that's going to put a flowery dress. Occasionally, I'll throw my flowery dress on, but I want to be comfortable. I like my cottons, linen's great. Like I have a certain aesthetic that suits me and that I prefer. It's not overly feminine. I'm not going to put fake lashes on. I'm not going to get my lips done. I'm not going to wear tons of jewelry every day. Again, look at the things that we think are feminine. Like as I'm listing them off, I'm not going to put on a full face of makeup. I don't like it.
I don't need you.
No, like it can be fun to play with, right? Like, I have moments where I'm like, oh, this could be fun. Like let's put on some creative colors and roll with it. I'm feeling it today, but I very much use like what I'm feeling into for the day to discern what I'm going to wear, how I'm going to show up. And once I started diving into my chart, I took more offense to these comments, understanding that they didn't really know what they were saying, right? Because I have a heavy Aries, Capricorn, Gemini, Leo. Like I could keep going, like Saturn in a very Saturn place. Like I have a very masculine chart. So when you're encouraging me to do the things that you've defined as feminine, you're overriding the natural essence of who I am, and fuck you.
Well, and I think that's interesting too, because I feel like I have forced myself into a more masculine box for most of my life. And I say forced because it takes a lot of effort to hold a frequency that you don't embody. So much. And I wondered for so long, like why I felt like I was sick all the time, why I was tired all the time. Like, and it's so funny because one of my mentors is like the embodiment of divine feminine energy. And I so admire the fact that she just like flows from her body place. It seems effortless to her. And she and I have often joked that I embody more of the masculine energy and she has more of the feminine, and we balance each other out. Well, then I have clients go, oh, I wish I could just be in my feminine like you are. And I'm like, I don't know what I am at this point. And honestly, I'm kind of curious about my chart. I don't know if mine reads a little more one way or the other. I just know I have a hell of a lot of earth from Capricorn in my chart.
So here we go, right? Masculine energy shows up most often through fire signs. So Aries.
Oh, and I have none of that.
Leo and Sagittarius. Okay. My moon is in Aries, as is my MC, and it sits in my 9th house. What is the 9th house? The 9th house is all about, yes, international exploration, but the sharing of your understanding of the world through that international lens. Podcasting. Hello, what are we doing here? Like that's a good essence of a 9th house MC. And it's Aries with a moon, which means my inner world is fast and it's combustible, right? You see it in my tongue every now and again. Air signs, another really masculine heavy, right? So Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, there you go.
There we go.
Planets like Mars, Saturn, and the Sun. I have Mars in my 6th house under a Capricorn rulership, masculine. I need to get shit done, right? I need organization. I need clarity, but I also need room for expansion and exploration. Those two can coexist, but it's a doing sign and a doing house. Okay. Cardinal placements, which initiate rather than respond. Okay. A dominant 10th house. I mean, I love my watery signs, but aside from Scorpio, let's just take Cancer and Pisces in the 10th house. That's very fluid. That's watery. That's feelings. That's flow. Your 10th house part of me is the fruits of your labor. It's ambition. It's mission. It's public leadership. And then a strong Mercury. I have Mercury sitting in my 11th house under the sign of Gemini with a stellium.
Wow.
My chart is masculine. It's got a masculine essence to it. So if you, just like me, have a chart stacked with these signatures, you're going to be naturally wired to move fast. Hi, have we met?
Yeah. This is why we get along so well.
Okay. Make bold decisions.
See, I've always been gun shy around that. And now that I'm like stepping into this phase of my life, I am much more comfortable with this bold decision making. But I attribute that to my conditioning.
Yeah.
Prior to now. Because like I have an Aquarius moon, I have a Libra rising.
You grow into your sign, right? And Libra is all about harmony and balance. So like that could curtail some of that. If I make a bold decision and upset somebody, it's going to massively impact me.
Yes, 100%. I very much resonate with that.
Right. So like that could be part of what has made you a bit gun shy, and you're starting to see that harmony within means harmony without.
My midheaven is in my 10th house.
Fruits of your labor.
Cancer.
So that's not a bold 10th house, right? A very emotional, moon driven. So that's also going to influence, right? I have Taurus in my 10th house, ruled by Venus nonetheless. You know what I mean? Like resources. Okay. Beautification. So there's going to be the rest of my chart, I would say, influences that more. That's not my primary, but there's a stark difference between Taurus on the 10th and Cancer on the 10th.
Yes.
Right? Structure versus non, feeling versus stagnation, movement versus not. Like, you know what I mean? So there's a big difference. So when you have these houses in your chart that are stacked, or these placements that are stacked, you're also going to lead rather than follow. Just kill me. I will never follow people. You're going to have to hang me first. Like, I just cannot. You know what I mean? Like, I need to question the multiplicity of Gemini. I have to question and question. Most people don't understand that Gemini, the mythological story, the mythology associated with Gemini was it was twins. One of the twins was mortal. The other was immortal. One died. The immortal twin went to Zeus and said, "Can you please bring my twin back? I can't live without him." And Zeus granted the wish under the condition that they had to spend half of their time in the underworld and half of their time above ground. Perspective, being able to see things from multiple lenses. So if you got a Gemini in your life and they love you, hang on to them. Their friendship is real. I can tell you.
I love all my Geminis dearly.
Don't cross me because I'll never talk to you again. So I'm very firm on that decision too. Like, well, we're done. The wall is up. Like, it's no longer a boundary. It's a wall. It's a no. You know, what we can also see with charts that have placements like this, they're strategic, they're future focused. There's your Aquarius, right? Have clear, fiery boundaries. Feel most at home when you're building, creating, or doing.
Yes.
And all of these can also be seen as feminine, even though it's a more masculine chart. It's all about creation. It's about boundaries. It's about taking decisive action. It's about the greater collective of humanity being future focused. It's about honoring the inner fire. It's about creating a home in yourself so you can create a home within the ecosystem around you. I mean, it's beautiful. So the feminine, it's not necessarily all always about the astrology, but the astrology influences. The feminine lives in how you do it, right? So your astrology might lean masculine, but that doesn't make you, if you're listening, you, Adrian, me, Taylor, any less of a woman. It means that your soul chose a template that needed agency, that needed ambition, that needed movement. And the feminine is still there, right? She just doesn't have to wear flowing dresses and talk about surrender every minute of the day.
I love that. Yeah, because I mean, receptivity is feminine, but again, it's about balance. And that's where I feel like I have grown into my chart, because like I very much was cerebral, masculine energy, action focused. And now I have learned very much but I have to actively do it. I can't just drop into my body the way that some people can. I have to work at it.
The gift for them though, like they came into this life choosing that template for a specific reason.
So I resonate with people who are like, oh, like, I don't understand what you're talking about. Like, I think my way through all the things, or I'm hypervigilant in my mind as a means of protection. And learning how to connect with self, like even now, years after I've started doing these practices to like tap into who I am, where I am in my life and in my body and decisions and all of these things, I still have to physically put my hands on my body in order to get into a heart-centered place.
You are an Aquarius that lives neck up. Some people absolutely need the redirection. It's like when I work with somebody who has an Aquarius heavy chart, please take this call while you're walking.
Yes.
You sitting at a desk. Please set a reminder for lunch. You need to fuel yourself.
I feel seen.
Same thing with Gemini though. Like Gemini, like I can get distracted because I'm mentally inspired, if you will. Right. So it's very easy for me to get locked into something creative and be like, oh shit, it's been 3 hours. I meant to eat lunch 3 hours ago. Right. So like reminders are really important. And understanding all of this about yourself actually makes life a lot easier. Then it allows you to jump into the schedule if that's what you need, or fall into the flow if that's a better fit for you, right? And the discussion of the patriarchal systems and the spiritual bypassing and femininity and astrology, this is all just to remind you that you don't have to fake your softness in order to access your feminine. You don't have to sacrifice your logic, which I thought I had to do, and ambition and intensity. I'm an intense person, period, end of report. Right? Like, and that is my magnetism. It's not like get rid of my intensity to be magnetic. No, my magnetism is my intensity. My magnetism is sensual. My magnetism is intuitive. That intensity is energetically alive, right? So you get to honor who you are in full. And if you don't know who you are, this is your invitation to start exploring.
I love this. And I think this is part of why, like, I've always been attracted to our conversations too, is like the embodiment of that energy, but I'm also attracted to the fact that you are so fiery and I'm not. I'm dense, I'm heavy. Shit, I have a hard time losing weight because I'm dense and I'm heavy. And like, I love the fact that you bring the fire that my chart literally does not have.
Well, it's just like you bring a sense of grounding for me, right? So when I'm the Aquarian bringing grounding for me. Yes, I just said that. I know it's an oxymoron. But like sometimes I literally burn myself alive. I can move so like fast and I can be in so many different places that you're very good at pulling me back in. Just like sometimes to your point, I'm like, we're going to light the match, Adrienne. Let's go.
And it's a beautiful balance. And I'm really grateful for it. Like, it's funny when I look at my best friends, most of them, I have a few outliers, but most of them are Geminis and female Leos. I have a hard time with male Leos. That's a story. But Geminis and female Leos are like my close knit of people. And I attribute it to this. And I have a couple of friends that are Libras, but the way that your mind works and the fact that they bring fire to my life that I need. I've always forced myself in human design. I'm a projector. So like I've always forced myself through the continuing to do of the things. And I can't work like that. I'm realizing as I get older, I burn myself out.
Yeah.
because I'm trying to force the action and fire that I don't have in my chart.
Yeah.
And the more that I start like really leaning into the spirituality of my life and my body knowing, which is a bitch to get in touch with. I had to laugh when you were like, set reminders for lunch and walk. If anybody watches my social media, I
walks a lot.
I do. Like, I get my best thinking and thoughts out. I'm like, sorry, guys, I'm doing another recording while I'm walking because that's when my brain works the best.
Yeah, that makes sense because you're finally in your body. So all systems are locked in.
Yep. And I have a walking pad in this office behind me so that I can walk while I'm doing things.
This is so anti-patriarchy too, as we sit here and talk about astrology.
Yeah.
So any final thoughts?
Lean into your truth and don't be afraid of it, because whether you are the edge walker or you the intuitive, whether you have always moved through the world in a more masculine way because you feel like you've had to, or because you're being soul led, you are still embodying the divine feminine. You have this cosmic ecosystem within you. And Insight, Taylor has some amazing reports that she does that gives you the lay of the land. I have been graced with some of her beautiful work, and it has been so eye-opening for me. I would highly recommend checking it out.
Thank you.
It has really put into perspective why certain things have, and I was the why child, Aquarius here. I've always been the why child. Like, why am I like this? Why is this hard for me? Like, I've always been the why child. It's made me a great practitioner, but I also have a hard time with the self-reflection because I want to know why things are happening.
Yeah.
And I gained so much insight from my chart and having her do a solar return for me and all of this, because like it gave me an understanding of why. And that gave me compassion and empathy for where I was sitting in time. So your chart holds some amazing keys. Your body holds amazing keys. And when you're quiet and you actually listen to what's going on underneath the surface of what you think you know and what you think you're supposed to do, getting into that stillness, the truth will bubble to the surface. That is the divine feminine speaking, not any of the other noise around it.
Your chart lives in your body and your body lives in your chart. Your psychology lives in your chart. Really, your purpose in life lives in your chart. Any question, any esoteric question that you have about yourself, your life, the way you show up in this world can actually be answered through your chart. So I encourage all of you, Adrienne and I have said it on every podcast, we're going in this direction. So you can continue to see things like astrology and herbalism as medicine for the weirdos. I don't know how else to put it. Or you can see them as tools that are going to set you apart from the crowd that is going to be oh so lost. Because let me tell you something. The astrology for the next few years is not looking great. July of 2026, we're looking at 2 particular placements that indicate some form of tangible war.
Ugh.
Be it international or on our own soil.
Great.
Get prepared. Unplug from the collective chaos and start to understand what it is you need in order to operate while everything else is on fire. The less people on fire, the better we are collectively. The less people on fire, the less likely we're going to have a war here on our home turf. And hopefully, internationally. The less plugged in we are to the chaos, the more empowered we are, the less willing we are to put up with the shit that we're being subjected to now. So on that note, get comfortable with getting to know yourself in the most intimate way. It is going to be the most fruitful classroom that you ever sit in. And once you've sat in that classroom again and again, because you always sit in it, once you go in there the first time, there will always be lessons to re-enter, right? You will unplug from the systems that really never gave back to you in the first place. But okay, guys, On that note, thanks for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. And until next time, stay well.